Do you have any other 6 Degrees of GNR bacon? Because you've obviously been around for a long time.
Yes, I do. A couple of things. Actually, TNT, it was playing, and there's actually a post that I put up somewhere of a marquee London, the famous Marquee Club in London. There's a flyer of shows from 1987, and there's a flyer where TNT is playing, and then either the next night or the night after GNR is playing, and this was like their first European tour. Now, they hadn't broken open big yet with Sweet Child of Mine, but the first song was getting some noise, and people were starting to be aware of them. But nobody was sure what was going to happen at that point. It was a lot of bands were coming out at that time that were, they were a little different. They were something to look at and something to take notice of. But we were riding around in London, and we literally, I think we were shopping for boots, which is what we often did. We would go to Kensington Market and look for rock and roll boots, and we saw the band walking down the street. We're like, oh, that's that band, Guns N' Roses, and it's not really a significant story. It's just something I'll never forget, because we had no idea they were going to end up being one of the biggest bands in the world ever. Who would? And then the other thing was, okay, so in the 80s, I would often go to the Cat Club, and I would hang out till pretty late, probably doing things I shouldn't be doing as part of my late night hanging out. And we would often go from there to this other place where bands would often jam. And I ended up at this place, and somewhere along the way I started, I was hanging out with Izzy Stradlin, and we ended up at some other place called the Scrap Bar, and we were chilling and having some drinks, and then we both went to this place called the Loft. And I was singing some blues, probably pretty badly. I was probably inebriated. And Axel came in with a notepad. They were working on the double album, Use Your Illusion albums. And he sat right in front of me with a notepad. And within a very short period of time, he left. And then probably within the next few weeks or month, there was an article. They used to have this little thing in the front of, I think it was either Hit Parade or one of those magazines. They had this little news blurbs in the front, like little stupid things that happened that month, and it was like, Tony Harnell was singing at this little place in New York City, and Axel walked in, and I guess it was, they tried to spin it into, I was like singing so great that he left the building, and it was always just kind of a joke among all of us that, they actually found that to be newsworthy, that I had sang him out of the room, which I'm sure I was absolutely horrible. And it was a drunken situation that I wouldn't be proud of today, but.
Clickbait goes back before the internet. Is just making up shit before the, without rhyme or reason. Do you remember why he had the notepad at all?
I believe that was just to, from what I remember, they were spending time in different cities making that album. And what I remember reading is that they wanted to, Axel in particular, wanted to capture the energy of each city and write songs when they were just hanging out in different cities writing songs and trying, I guess, hey, maybe he got a lyric out of that situation if he found himself in that night.
Maybe.
That's great.